because according to reports, Keon White is not cooperating with police and authorities in naming a suspect.
After Super Bowl 60, 49ers defensive lineman Keon White was hosting a private party at a San Francisco nightclub. Rapper Lil Baby and his crew tried to get in. They were turned away. A verbal altercation broke out, followed by 2 gunshots. Later, from his hospital bed, he broke his silence. Gunfire after the final whistle. A few days after the shooting, Keion White took to Instagram saying, "Thank you to everyone who has reached out with their prayers and concerns on my behalf. I've undergone successful surgery. For those who know me, y'all know this won't stop me from spreading peace and joy to the world." He appeared to be in good spirits despite the incident, but shortly after, a viral video showed something entirely different. It seems Keion may be going for revenge, but before we get to that, let's get a little recap of what happened on the day he was shot. Just hours after the Seattle Seahawks dismantled the New England Patriots 29-13 in Super Bowl LX at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, a game defined by Mike McDonald's suffocating defense, Kenneth Walker III's MVP performance, and Jason Myers' record-setting 5 field goals. A celebration in San Francisco's Mission District turned violent when 49ers defensive lineman Keion White was shot in the ankle at a nightclub called Dahlia's. The San Francisco Police Department confirmed they responded to calls of a shooting on the 1700 block of Mission Street at approximately 4:06 a.m. local time, and what officers found when they arrived painted a scene that reads more like a Netflix crime drama than a routine NFL off-season incident report. According to the San Francisco Standard, which reviewed the actual police report, White had been hosting a private party in a downstairs event space at Dahlia's, a bar and nightclub located at 1799 Mission Street. The venue sits in a stretch of the Mission District that, as one reporter noted, is not the most inviting area within city limits after midnight, particularly in the hours well past 2 a.m. The party had begun on Super Bowl Sunday night and continued well into the early morning hours of Monday. White himself had been at the game earlier that evening, posting photos and videos on his Instagram account from inside Levi's Stadium, where he watched his former team, the New England Patriots, fall to Seattle in what turned out to be a thorough drubbing. Drake May was sacked 6 times and threw 2 interceptions, and the Patriots went scoreless through the first 3 quarters. After the final whistle blew, White made his way across the bay to Dahlia's to host what was intended to be a private Super Bowl after-party. What he could not have known is that one of the biggest rappers on the planet would also end up at his doorstep, and that the night would end not with celebration, but with a 911 call and 2 shell casings on the floor. Super Bowl weekend in any major American city is a magnet for celebrities, athletes, and entertainment figures from every corner of the culture. San Francisco and the greater Bay Area were no exception. The entire region was overflowing with events, after parties, and private gatherings, and Dahlia's, with its downstairs event space and late-night atmosphere, was one of many venues hosting post-game festivities that night. White's party was a private, invite-only affair, which is what makes what happened next so significant. That single act of attempting to gain entry to White's private section is, according to every available report, the catalyst that set everything in motion. Lil Baby, born Dominique Armani Jones, was also in the Bay Area for Super Bowl weekend. Social media posts and an event page confirmed the Grammy-winning rapper had an appearance at the Grand nightclub earlier that night, and a post from his own Instagram showed him watching the game from a suite at Levi's Stadium. Lil Baby had also performed at a Super Bowl event in San Francisco that weekend. At some point during the early morning hours, Jones and members of his entourage made their way to Dahlia's and attempted to forcefully enter White's private event area. According to reports from multiple outlets, members of Lil Baby's entourage attempted to push their way into White's private section. That denial of entry is where the situation deteriorated rapidly. According to the police report, a verbal altercation erupted between White and Jones after the rapper and his crew were refused access. The SFPD's official statement described it in measured terms. A preliminary investigation revealed a verbal altercation occurred between 2 groups inside a business. The victim was injured when shots were fired by an unknown suspect. A witness at the scene provided police with a critical account of how the argument unfolded and what White attempted to do in response.
Keon White had tried to go upstairs to try to get management to try to de-escalate the situation.
White's response to the escalating confrontation was not aggression, it was de-escalation. He physically removed himself from the argument and went upstairs to seek help from bar staff. The witness told police he personally observed the verbal argument between the two sides and then went to get help from management to prevent the situation from worsening. It was during this brief window of separation, while White and the witness were both upstairs attempting to involve Dahlia's management, that everything changed.
And that's when, according to police, shots rang out, and that's when Keion White got shot in the ankle.
2 gunshots echoed through Dahlia's in the early morning darkness. When the witness returned to the downstairs area, White had been shot in the left leg. Partygoers were still filtering out of the venue as police arrived on scene shortly after 4 a.m. The responding officers located White suffering from an apparent gunshot wound and immediately rendered aid before calling paramedics, who transported the 27-year-old defensive lineman to a local hospital for treatment of what were ultimately determined to be non-life-threatening injuries. Despite the swift response from law enforcement, the damage was already done, not only to White's ankle, but to the already fragile perception of player safety in the city of San Francisco. The news broke just as the football world was still processing Seattle's dominant championship performance, and within hours, Keion White's name was trending for reasons that had nothing to do with his play on the field. The 49ers confirmed the situation in a statement released Monday afternoon, leaving no ambiguity about the severity of what their player had endured. By Monday afternoon, White had undergone what the team described as successful surgery on his left ankle, and the 49ers confirmed his injuries were not considered career-threatening. The surgery was performed at a local hospital, and by Tuesday, multiple reports indicated White had been discharged. But the question hanging over everything, the one question that mattered more than his medical prognosis or his return to play timeline, remained unanswered. Who pulled the trigger? And it would stay that way because the victim himself had already made the decision that he was not going to provide that answer to anyone. Shell casings, silence, and a statement from the hospital. The investigation into Dahlia's shooting has been defined by 2 things: the physical evidence left behind on the floor and the resolute silence of the man who took the bullet. When San Francisco police officers made their way into the venue's downstairs event space, they found more than a wounded football player and spent ammunition. They found a scene that the responding officer felt compelled to describe in vivid detail in his written report. The officer's account of the scene continued with additional observations about the nature of the event that had been taking place before gunfire erupted. The party had clearly been a full-blown private adult entertainment event, the kind of lavish, high-dollar nightlife gathering that is a staple of Super Bowl weekend in every host city across America. Several performers remained in the venue even as police entered and began processing the shooting scene. According to one account, the performers appeared more focused on collecting their earnings from the floor than on the wounded man who had been shot just moments earlier. While the atmosphere inside Dahlia's may have been festive before the shots rang out, the forensic evidence told its own story. Police recovered a 9mm shell casing and a .45 caliber shell casing near the scene of the shooting. The presence of 2 different caliber casings immediately raised questions. Were 2 separate weapons fired that night, or did a single individual carry firearms of different calibers? Beyond the shell casings, investigators pulled footage from surveillance cameras at the scene and recovered an abandoned cell phone. Those are potentially significant leads. Surveillance footage could identify the shooter, and a phone left behind could tie someone directly to the scene. But despite the physical evidence and digital trail, the investigation hit its most significant roadblock when officers made contact with the victim himself.
Was it Lil Baby or somebody from his crew or entourage who shot Keion White? According to San Francisco police, no suspect has been named.
The reason no suspect has been formally identified is not because police lack evidence or leads. It is because the man who took the bullet to his ankle will not reveal who fired it. White was reportedly uncooperative when asked directly who had shot him, and while that decision has drawn widespread speculation and commentary online, the reasoning behind it is not difficult to understand when you consider who was allegedly on the other side of the argument. That is the calculus at work here. White is a professional football player, not someone embedded in street culture. Identifying a shooter connected to a large, well-known crew could invite consequences far more severe than a bullet wound to the ankle. It is the oldest unwritten rule in these situations. Cooperating with authorities can make you a target, and White, by all indications, is following that rule to the letter. The SFPD's Strategic Investigation Unit has taken over the case, and department spokesman Evan Cernovsky confirmed to the New York Times that officers are working diligently on this investigation and following multiple leads. As for Lil Lil Baby, the response has been absolute silence. No suspect has been named in the shooting, and Jones was not charged with any crime in connection with the incident. Representatives for Lil Baby did not immediately respond to Rolling Stone's request for comment, while social media posts confirm he was in San Francisco for Super Bowl weekend. TMZ was careful to note that outside of the police report and subsequent news coverage, there is nothing directly linking the rapper himself to the lounge where the violent incident took place. The critical legal distinction that runs through every report is this: the argument was reportedly between White and Lil Baby, but the identity of the person who actually fired the weapon has not been publicly established. Then, on Tuesday, February 11th, 2 days after the shooting, Keon White broke his silence. He posted a photograph on his Instagram story, showing himself smiling from his hospital room. The image was striking, given the gravity of what he had just endured. His accompanying message was equally notable for what it said and what it did not say. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with their prayers and concerns on my behalf. I've undergone successful surgery. For those who know me, y'all know this won't stop me from spreading peace and joy to the world. Full steam ahead. I'm in great spirits and ready to make the most of this off season. No mention of Lil Baby, no mention of the argument, no mention of the investigation, no mention of a suspect, no anger, no finger pointing, just gratitude, optimism, and a determined, forward-looking statement from a man who is days removed from surgery to remove a bullet from his ankle. White addressed neither the identity of the shooter nor the circumstances that led to the shooting. His public silence on the specifics speaks just as loudly as his refusal to cooperate with police. This is a man who has decided, for whatever reason, that this chapter will be closed on his terms and no one else's. The 49ers have not placed a timetable on White's return to the field. The team's off-season program begins in April, and while a gunshot wound to the ankle for a 6'5", 290-pound defensive lineman who relies on explosive movement and brute force is far from a trivial setback, the injuries have been described as not career-threatening. White is under contract with San Francisco for the 2026 season, and his ability to line up at multiple positions along the defensive line gives the coaching staff reason to wait for his recovery rather than move on. But the larger questions linger. Who fired the weapon at Dahlia's that night? Will criminal charges ever be filed? Will White eventually cooperate with investigators? Or will this case go cold alongside so many other nightclub shootings that never see resolution? And the most uncomfortable question of all for San Francisco: why does this city keep failing to protect the professional athletes who play within its borders? 2 49ers shot in under 18 months. Pearsall in broad daylight in Union Square, targeted by a teenager for his watch. White at a private party at 4 in the morning after the Super Bowl. Entirely different circumstances, entirely different alleged perpetrators, but the same city and the same devastating result. As the investigation continues and Keion White recovers, one thing is clear. The 27-year-old from Garner, North Carolina, the 2-star tight end recruit who switched to defense, transferred twice, worked as a construction estimator and financial analyst while playing Power 5 football, broke his ankle in a basketball game, and still clawed his way to the second round of the NFL draft, is not about to let a bullet bring his story to an end. His Instagram statement made that much certain. Full steam ahead. A 2-star recruit, a Grammy winner, and a city under fire. To understand the full weight of what happened at Dahlia's, you need to understand who was involved, because this is not a story about two famous people colliding. It is a story about two people from entirely different worlds whose paths crossed at the worst possible time. Keion White is not a household name. He is not a Pro Bowler, not a franchise cornerstone, and not the kind of player whose face appears on NFL marketing campaigns. He is a 27-year-old defensive lineman from Garner, North Carolina, who has been quietly building an NFL career through hard work, multiple position changes, school transfers, and a relentless work ethic, a journey that makes the circumstances of his shooting all the more absurd. White attended Garner Magnet High School in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he started at both tight end and defensive end. Before that, he had played center and linebacker. He was rated a 2-star recruit by 247 Sports as a tight end, not a defensive prospect. He committed to Old Dominion, an FCS program, as part of their 2017 recruiting class and redshirted his true freshman year. In his second season, he caught passes, tallying 124 receiving yards as a tight end. But by the spring of 2019, White made the decision that would reshape his career. He switched from tight end to defensive end for Old Dominion, and the results were immediate. In his first full season on defense, White recorded 62 tackles, 19 tackles for loss, which tied a school record, 3.5 sacks, a forced fumble, and an interception. When Old Dominion canceled his 2020 football season due to the COVID-19 pandemic, White transferred to Georgia Tech, but before he could even take a snap for the Yellow Jackets, he broke his ankle playing in a pickup basketball game, which limited him to just 4 games in the 2021 season. He used the extra year of eligibility granted during COVID and returned for 2022, where he delivered a dominant senior campaign: 54 total tackles, 14 tackles for loss, and 7.5 sacks across all 12 games. That performance made him Georgia Tech's highest NFL draft pick in over a decade, when the New England Patriots selected him in the second round at 46th overall in 2023. What separates White from most NFL players is his life outside the game. While at Georgia Tech, he worked as a construction estimator and later held a financial analyst internship at McKinney's Inc., a facility construction and maintenance company in Atlanta. His former defensive line coach, Larry Knight, revealed that White never took notes during meetings, but asked so many questions, not just about his own role, but about what his teammates should be doing, that it showed a deeper understanding than any notebook could capture. After 3 seasons in New England, the Patriots traded White and a 2026 7th-round pick to San Francisco for a 2026 6th-round pick just before the October trade deadline. In 14 total games with the 49ers, including playoffs, White posted 16 tackles, 2.5 sacks, a fumble recovery, and 3 tackles for loss, while contributing at both defensive end and defensive tackle.
Played a little bit of defensive end, played some defensive tackle. With his brute strength, his length, and physicality,
a versatile rotational piece on a competitive defensive line. That is who Keion White was before February 9th. On the other side of this incident stands one of the most commercially successful rappers of the last decade. Lil Baby, born Dominique Armani Jones on December 3rd, 1994, grew up in the Oakland City neighborhood of Southwest Atlanta, Georgia. His father left the family when Jones was 2 years old, and his mother raised him and his 2 sisters on her own. He dropped out of Booker T. Washington High School in the 9th grade and turned to drug dealing, which led to legal trouble. He was charged with possession with intent to sell in early 2012. As a teenager, he spent time at Quality Control Records in Atlanta, where label founder Kevin "Coach K" Lee saw potential and encouraged Jones to pursue rap, believing he had the right style and street credibility. Alongside mentors like Young Thug and Gunna, Jones developed the sound that would make him a commercial powerhouse. Lil Baby's rise has been nothing short of extraordinary. His 2018 debut album, Harder Than Ever, peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200, bolstered by Yes Indeed with Drake, which hit number 6 on the Hot 100. His collaborative mixtape Drip Harder with Gunna spawned Drip Too Hard, now certified diamond by the RIAA, meaning over 10 million copies sold. His sophomore album, My Turn, became the best-selling album in America in 2020 and was certified quadruple platinum. His guest appearance on Kanye West and The Weeknd's Hurricane earned him a Grammy Award for Best Melodic Rap Performance at the 64th Grammy Awards. His 4th and most recent album, Wham!, an acronym for Who Hard Is Me, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 in January 2025, moving 140,000 album equivalent units in its first week. He has won an MTV Video Music Award, 2 BET Awards, and was named the All-Genre Artist of the Year at the 2020 Apple Music Awards. He also founded Glass Window Entertainment, formerly known as 4 Pockets Full, or 4PF, as a label imprint through Motown and Capitol, signing collaborators like 42 Doug and Rilo Rodriguez. This is a Grammy-winning, diamond-certified artist with deep Atlanta roots, a massive entourage, and significant influence in both the music industry and street culture. The possible connection between him and White played college football at Georgia Tech, located in downtown Atlanta, the same city where Lil Baby built his empire. As one report speculated, perhaps they crossed paths and developed some type of relationship during White's college years, but no established relationship between the 2 men has been publicly confirmed, and neither party has spoken about any prior connection. What makes this incident resonate even more deeply within the 49ers organization is the grim pattern it continues. White's shooting marks the 2nd time in less than 2 years that a San Francisco 49er has been shot within city limits. On August 31st, 2024, rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall was shot in the chest during an attempted armed robbery near Geary and Grant Streets in San Francisco's Union Square. The suspect was a 17-year-old from Tracy, California, who targeted Pearsall after noticing his $9,000 Rolex and $30,000 white gold chain. Pearsall fought back, and during the struggle, the suspect's firearm discharged, hitting both Pearsall and the teenager. Pearsall was released from the hospital within 24 hours, missed the first 6 games of his rookie season, and made a full physical recovery. 2 49ers players, 2 shootings, 18 months apart. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie addressed the latest shooting directly on social media. Any violent incident in our city is unacceptable, and I'm hoping Keon recovers quickly. I've spoken with SFPD and 49ers leadership. We are all grateful to our SFPD officers for their quick response. As always, I will continue working with San Francisco law enforcement to ensure our neighborhood neighborhoods, and our residents are safe. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.